When you think of the Korean War, what comes to mind? Perhaps images of American soldiers fighting against a backdrop of a divided peninsula. What if I told you that long before Hollywood came along, there was a group of men who valiantly fought for Korea's freedom? Men who left their families behind without saying goodbye, facing an enemy 3 times their number and enduring harsh conditions that tested their courage and determination. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest stories from human history. Some of these stories are scary, some are sad, but all of them are interesting and will leave you asking, was I the only one who didn't know about this? Today, we're going to tell you a forgotten story about the brave Filipinos who answered the call of duty and fought for Korea during the war. So sit back, relax, and let's take a journey through time to explore the heroic tale of the Filipino unsung heroes. Before we begin, be sure to hit that like button for more videos. Welcome to Awakened Soldier. Let's begin. The Korean War was one of the most significant conflicts of the 20th century. A brutal and bloody battle between North Korea, supported by China and Russia, and South Korea, backed by the United Nations. The war erupted in June 1950 when North Korean soldiers crossed the 38th parallel, marking a dramatic escalation of tensions that had been simmering since the end of World War II. As the fighting intensified, the UN appealed for assistance, and soon troops from various countries, including the Philippines, were deployed to help defend South Korea. But why did the Philippines decide to send its soldiers to fight in a faraway land? To answer this question, we must go back to the beginning of the conflict. At that time, the Philippines was still reeling from the devastation wrought by the Second World War. The economy was struggling and many people were living in poverty. However, despite these challenges, the Philippine government was eager to establish itself as a major player on the world stage, and sending troops to Korea was seen as a way to do just that. It was a chance to show the world that the Philippines was a loyal ally and a powerful force to be reckoned with. But it wasn't just about international politics. Many Filipinos were also motivated by a sense of duty and honor. They believed that it was their responsibility to help defend the freedom and democracy of other nations, and they were proud to have the opportunity to do just that. And so, in October 1950, the Philippine government announced that it would be sending a battalion of troops to Korea. This decision was met with mixed reactions from the public. Some people were supportive and saw it as an opportunity to make a difference in the world. Others were skeptical and worried about the safety of their loved ones, who would be sent into a dangerous and unfamiliar conflict zone. In total, over 7,500 Filipinos served in Korea between 1950 and 1955. Most of them were very young, having just turned 18 or 19 when they left the Philippines. Many of them left behind families without saying goodbye, unsure if they would ever return home alive. Despite the danger and uncertainty that lay ahead, these brave soldiers were determined to make a difference. The Filipino troops faced many challenges during their time in Korea. The winters were harsh and unforgiving, with temperatures plummeting to double digits below zero. They also endured bloody battles against the North Koreans and Chinese forces, often outnumbered and outgunned. The threat of death or injury was a constant companion. One of the most intense battles that the Filipino troops participated in was the Battle of Yultong in April 1951. The battle was part of a larger UN effort to push back the Chinese and North Korean forces, who had advanced close to the UN battle line. The Filipino troops were outnumbered 40,000 to 900. Despite being vastly outnumbered, The Filipino troops held their ground and fought bravely. They fought through the night, outnumbered 40 to 1. Wave after wave, yet they refused to break. Like David before Goliath, they stood their ground. At Yeltom, courage spoke louder than fear. Blood was spilled, but freedom was saved. And their story still whispers today. They repelled wave after wave of attacks, inflicting heavy casualties on the enemy. But the battle was costly. Many Filipino soldiers were killed or wounded, and those who survived were traumatized by the experience. However, their bravery and sacrifice saved countless lives and helped to turn the tide of the war in favor of the UN. Despite the hardships and dangers they faced, the Filipino troops remained steadfast in their duty. They fought not only for the freedom of Korea, but for the ideals of democracy and justice. Their bravery and sacrifice made a lasting impression on the Korean people, who came to see them as brothers and heroes. Even today, the memory of the Filipino troops is honored in South Korea with memorials, ceremonies, and expressions of gratitude. For many Filipinos, their involvement in the Korean War was a defining moment in their lives. It was a chance to be part of something bigger than themselves and to make a difference in the world. For others, it was a chance to escape the poverty and hardship of their everyday lives and to see the world. But whatever their motivations may have been, all of the Filipino troops can agree on one thing. Their experience in Korea was a humbling and unforgettable one. Despite the language barrier and cultural differences, the Filipino troops quickly formed bonds with their Korean counterparts. They shared stories of their families, their hopes and dreams for the future, and their fears about the war. They also participated in traditional Korean customs and holidays, learning about each other's cultures and traditions. These friendships were forged in the fires of battle and were strengthened by the shared experiences of hardship and sacrifice. The Filipino troops were welcomed as heroes by the Korean people, who were grateful for their help in defending their country. They were treated with respect and admiration, and were given gifts and tokens of appreciation. The Korean people were aware that the Filipino troops were fighting for a cause greater than themselves, and were inspired by their bravery and selflessness. One of the ways that the Korean people showed their appreciation was through food. They brought the troops special meals and snacks and made sure that they were well taken care of. They also hosted cultural events and festivals for the troops, giving them a chance to relax and enjoy themselves away from the battlefield. Overall, the relationship between the Filipino troops and the Korean people was one of mutual respect and admiration. The Filipino troops were seen as heroes by the Koreans and were treated with kindness and gratitude. It is important to remember that the Filipino troops were not fighting for their own nation, but for the freedom and democracy of a foreign country. They were fighting for strangers who had never met and for a cause greater than themselves. This act of selfless sacrifice is truly inspiring and should be remembered and honored. The Filipino troops were willing to put their lives on the line to defend a country and people who were not their own, showing a level of courage and selflessness that is truly admirable. The Filipino troops were guided by their faith and the belief that they were doing the right thing. They saw their mission as a test of their beliefs and a chance to live out their values. They carried Bibles with them into battle and prayed before going on missions, seeking strength and guidance from their faith. This faith helped them to endure the hardships and dangers of war and to stay true to their beliefs, even in the face of adversity. Their presence helped to establish diplomatic relations between the two countries and paved the way for future cooperation and collaboration. The relationship between the Philippines and South Korea continues to be strong today, with South Korea being one of the major trading partners of the Philippines and with many Koreans living, working, and studying in the Philippines. So, what can we learn from the story of the Filipinos who fought in the Korean War? First, we see an example of selfless sacrifice. These soldiers were willing to leave their families and risk their lives to help a country that was not their own. They fought for the freedom and democracy of Korea, putting their own safety and well-being on the line. Second, we see the importance of international cooperation. The Filipino soldiers were part of a larger UN effort to defend South Korea. They worked alongside troops from other countries, forming bonds of brotherhood and friendship that transcended national boundaries. Finally, we see the power of faith. These soldiers were guided by their beliefs and were able to endure the hardships and dangers of war through their faith. Their story is a testament to the power of the human spirit and the importance of standing up for what you believe in. In conclusion, the Filipinos who fought in the Korean War were true heroes. They sacrificed their safety and well-being to help a country that was not their own, and they did so with courage, determination, and selflessness. Their story is an important part of history and should be remembered and honored. Now, it's time for you to make your voice heard. What do you think about this forgotten story? Leave a comment below with your thoughts, opinions, or any insights you might have. We're eager to hear from you and know that together we can keep these important historical tales alive. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button for more informative and entertaining videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. The Bible says in Hebrews 13:16, "Do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased." So let us continue to do good and share with others. And remember the legacy of the Filipino soldiers who fought in the Korean War. Their sacrifice was an act of justice, freedom, and love that continues to inspire us today. Their story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope and faith can prevail, and that one person's sacrifice can make a world of difference.